Welcome to a new episode of the Guru Perspective, and I'm your host, Hugh Lee, the Guru himself. I would like to say it was a fantastic weekend of sports. And then on MLK Day, I know it was cold here in the D. Detroit, Michigan was super cold. Better yet, we're still under a winter weather advisory. I want everybody to be safe, keep warm, and stay sheltered. It is too cold out there right now for the Haddam kids to go to school, let alone it's too cold out there if you're not working or have anything that you need to be doing today. If you're off and you don't have nothing to do, I say or I suggest for you to stay inside and keep warm because it don't make no sense to be out there if you don't have to. I want to say y'all in Michigan, be blessed and stay warm. And now I'm about to get to the show. Okay. MLK Day was fantastic. It was full of sports. And like I said, if it was too cold for you, I know people who came in early from work, they kicked their feet back. You had women hoops, you had the NBA on Channel 4 on local TV. Then you had the big game of the night, the college football championship. You even had hockey on. It was like anything that you wanted. You could pick your poison and be able to enjoy it when it came to sports yesterday. Speaking of, I want to talk about the national championship game. I basically looked at this game and I thought, okay, Indiana has been just crushing everybody right now. I don't think that it's going to be any difference on whoever they play. Miami showed different with that front when you got Ruben Bain and you had those guys, man, up front on their interior on defense. That's just an awesome defense they have. Unfortunately, some of those guys will be coming to the pros, and I know they're going to be coveted, when it comes to the pass rush, having a really good, solid front. Really exciting game, I may add. Crazy part about it, too, I feel like Carson Beck outperformed Fernando Mendoza. Yes, I said it. The MVP got outperformed, but he had very good, crucial plays in the game. Carson Beck had 232 yards, a touchdown, and he had a pick on the day. But the person who kept the team on his back was Mark Fletcher Jr. Man, he had a hell of a game on the ground. He had 112 yards rushing, 17 carries, and two touchdowns. And the always explosive Malachi Tony stepped up as well. He had 122 yards on 10 receptions, and he had a score as well. Fernando Mendoza had 86 yards on 16 of 27 passing, but the defense made clutch plays. They had a good run game. They blocked a punt. He scored a touchdown. It was just they had all the elements of the game to win this game. Miami still had a chance. They stopped them and they made them convert on the field goal rather than getting the 7 points. And when they went down the field, unfortunately, that's why I think they cost them, that pick. But I don't still feel bad for Carson Beck. I feel like he had a hell of a collegiate career. He didn't win the national championship. He came up short. But keep your head up, young man, because the U is officially back and you had a lot to do with it. I still feel like they're going to be one of the teams to be reckoned with next season. On the other hand, I got to see what's going on with Indiana as well, because I know Fernando Mendoza is going to be hitting the NFL draft. So that being said, that final score came out to be when they kicked that field goal. But I still feel like the best play of the game was Fernando Mendoza taking the ball in his own hands and scoring a touchdown. Once they finally got that field goal, Miami had a chance. And like I said, Carson Beck just came up a little bit short, but he definitely shouldn't be upset about that. He should be very proud because of not only the fact that they still had a chance to pull that game off, but at the same time, they was one of the teams who wasn't in a hall of shame and got blew out and humiliated by, Indiana. Because it was a tough game and it took like block punts and certain things not going Miami way for them to take this game. Because if it wasn't for that block punt, we'd be talking about a new champion. But at the same time, got to give credit where credit is due. And I'm going to say congratulations to the Indiana Hoosiers for going undefeated. They went 16-0, and they were the cream of the crop right now in college football. So they definitely deserve that respect. I want to move on And I'm going to give a little stats about that too, as far as what happened and what was going on in the game. I want to speak amongst that because one, not only Miami is the only FBS or NFL team in the last 20 years to hold the ball for 40 plus minutes. Correction. Amass 400 yards of offense, convert 10 plus third downs, convert multiple fourth downs, and have 4 drives of 13 plus plays, all in the same game, regular or postseason. Fernando Mendoza had put up an actual good resume this year. He's on the list of some of the elite in college football as well. So I want to congratulate him on that as well. Every player since the year 2000 to win the Heisman and the CFP championship. Matt Leinart did it in 2004. Mark Ingram, 2009. Cam Newton did it in 2010. Jameis Winston, 2013. Derrick Henry did it in 2015. Joe Burrow did it in 2019. Devontae Smith in 2020. And of course, yours truly, Fernando Mendoza, done it yesterday, 2025-2026 season. So congratulations on being on that, list of, elite company as well. That final score was 27-21. And it was a heck of a game. Miami, like I said, shouldn't, be upset and keep their head up because they're officially back. At the same time, I still want to get this out there. I just want Michael Irvin to be a little bit more humble because in wins, he'll do things, and I feel like he celebrates a little too much. Yeah, I mean, it's good to celebrate your team and be happy that your team won. I think that some of his celebrations went over the top with, whooping, the dummy on the sideline and doing the things that he was doing, those antics. You just got to be humble, either in a win or lose effort, because he did all that, went to the national championship game, and his team came up short. So, yeah, I just want to give him a little humility lesson on that. That being said, I'm going to move on now, and I want to talk about what happened over the weekend as far as the NFL and what was going on in the NFL divisional round. It was really good. You had some games that went to the wire, and you had a blowout victory, in here. But at the same time, it was a dominant performance from the team who had the blowout victory. I want to start off from the Saturday games. This was a crazy one. The very first game was Buffalo Bills visiting the Denver Broncos. And this game was actually better than what I expected. I thought that it was going to be a little bit more low scoring, but no, that definitely wasn't the case. Josh Allen, had a pretty solid game from what I've seen, but some of the mistakes cost him. And it cost him something else too. And I will definitely talk about that. Josh Allen had 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he had 2 picks on the game. James Cook looked pretty good, 24 carries, 117 yards. And Dalton Kincaid had 6 receptions and a touchdown. On the other hand, Bo Nix had 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he had a pick as well. He had 12 carries for 29 yards on the ground as well. The run game wasn't really that solid when it came to what they were trying to do over there in Denver. That just needed to be said, because if you got Bo Nix with 29 yards on 12 carries, that just lets you know they were stuffing anything that came through the interior. Marvin Mims Jr. had himself a really good game. He had 8 receptions, 93 yards, and a touchdown. The score was back and forth, and it was a really good game. A little controversial in this game, too, because we still trying to figure out what the hell in the NFL is really a catch or what's not a catch. At one point, we seen a situation where in this game, okay, this might be determined right now by whoever had the ball last. And Josh Allen looked like he was going to have the ball last at some point in the game. But I just still question the fact in that sequence. when Brandon Cooks caught the ball, he went to the ground, a knee was down, and he rolled over. But they're saying that in this play, when the ball was picked off, that you have to finish the catch and come up and stand up with the ball. But his knee was down, and I know former coach Sean McDermott, yes, I said it. I'm gonna get that out there right now. Saw that. He thought the player was down by contact, and that was the end. But it was different. I feel like in some case, and I'm not even trying to throw shade to all the Denver fans out there, they had some of the advantages of those calls in that game. Let's just be honest, because it wasn't like Buffalo got some calls, Denver got some calls. No, it was more pro Denver who got a lot of those calls, and I feel like it got to the point it took away from the game. Yes, if you say finish the catch, I feel like the catch was finished, especially when his knee was down. But when they rolled over and he didn't have the ball, that's why I said, yeah, it's going to be a problem here, because of the fact is, I know because I had my heart broken as a Detroit Lions fan with Calvin Johnson, who got up with the ball and he didn't finish the play, like y'all say. So when this happened, I said, okay, Josh Allen wasn't looking too happy. The coach was on the sideline heated. And unfortunately, that cost them the game. Because when I looked up, I said, uh-oh, that's not good. They went into overtime with that. And of course, you all know it, that the Denver Broncos kicked that field goal, and that was the end of the game. Josh Allen went back home, back to back to back years. This is the third time that he got put out of the NFL divisional or any playoff round and losing by 3 points. Of course, in 2023 and 2024, when he lost by the 3 points, it was both back to back by yours truly, the Kansas City Chiefs. This year, it was the Denver Broncos. But unfortunately, when this happened, something else happened. Coach Sean McDermott, like I said, was their former coach. He got released after 9 seasons. They felt like he just couldn't get the job done. And it's very bad, because when you look at it, I think they made their final decision when they released him yesterday, was the fact that you didn't have Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. You didn't have a Joe Burrow to attend to. And not only that, you didn't have a Lamar Jackson. So the guys who's been, a thorn in your back the whole time, they didn't play, and they were all out. And then people feel like they had a clear path. But I looked at it too, and I said the Denver Broncos is not a pushover, so you just can't look past the team. You can win on any given Saturday, Sunday, or whatever. Whenever you play to win the game. And Denver wasn't just going to sit down and, just let Josh Allen do Josh Allen things. Some of those mistakes he made was crucial, but I still feel like with that last interception, it was kind of controversial. But I understand, like I said, by me being a Detroit Lions fan, I just felt like I seen this happen before, and I was heartbroken by the whole Calvin Johnson catch. So we've seen these things in the past. I've seen Dan Skipper get a touchdown and they took it back because they made excuses about, not being set or not saying that he was eligible as a receiver. Just simple like that the NFL is rigged. I said it. Sometimes I feel like the purity and the passion of the game is in question. And it makes me sometimes feel like I just want to take a step back and figure, is this something else that I can do rather than watch, football? I've had those thoughts in the past many times, but I just feel like me being a gamer and a person who loves the game and love the sport and love to talk about it with you fans is the fact that I don't know if I can maintain that right now. But at some point, I'd be upset, especially the way they do things, because this was a tough year for my team. But at the same time, I just feel like things just didn't work out as well. But at the end of the day, this game was determined by that field goal. They both had chances, but I just felt like Denver came up, on the better end of this at the time. That final score, like I said, was 33-30. But then at the same time, I like to give shouts out and thank everybody who support my social media pages. I put the news out there that Bo Nix had a broken ankle and he was out the rest of the playoffs. And that shocked everybody because we didn't even know. But at the same time, they were still celebrating a victory. He didn't want to make it completely about him, so he didn't talk about it. He kept quiet and he went on with his life. And then a little while later, that's when I found out, I seen a report on my phone and I said, oh man, this can't be true. I took it amongst myself and I said, let me go ahead and put it out there and let everybody know on my social media. And it broke the internet. I had like 13,000 people on Facebook, you know, 11,006 on TikTok, and then my sports page on Facebook, the Sports Guru to You, did over 6,000. And Instagram as well did like 6,000. So I definitely appreciate all the love and support. And that let me know that the work I do is definitely worth it. So I appreciate you guys first and foremost. And I want to get into the second game on Saturday. This one wasn't even really close. This was a really crazy game. And Sam Darnold didn't have to do much. Yes, he had like a situation with his oblique, and he wasn't really feeling 100%. He wasn't really throwing the ball as much, so you could see a little bit of the rust. But it really didn't matter because they really didn't need him to do much. Brock Purdy, on the other hand, of San Francisco, had 140 yards, 15 to 27, and an interception. And he was their run game too, and that was the issue because Brock Purdy had 5 carries for 37 yards. And Jake Tongues, yes, Jake Tongues. They were lacking a lot of wide receiver help as well in San Francisco. They had so many injuries that I've been surprised if they came out of this one on top. But then you still got to give credit to, Kyle Shanahan, because not only did he put up a masterpiece in the playoffs while his team's being banged up and injured like they was, and then they lost George Kittle that last game when they shocked the Eagles. But it is only so much that you can do. And at least they still was able to say we pulled off a playoff victory and was able to move on. But it was just too much for them in this round. Like I said, Sam Darnold had 124 yards, 12 of 17, and he had a score. But Kenneth Walker III was really that guy. He stepped his game up in this one. He had 116 yards, 19 carries, and he had 3 touchdowns. It was just a slobber knocker of a performance here. They just totally dominated. And I didn't think it was going to be anything less. Cooper Kupp had 5 receptions and 60 yards too. And yeah, this is going to be exciting because I get to talk about the conference championship too as well. And he's going to be facing his best friend again this season, and I'll get into that. But that final score was 41-6. And I want to talk about that too. Let me see. Okay. The Seahawks on Sunday night scored 40 plus points, rushed for 150 plus yards, had 0 turnovers, allowed 0 touchdowns, had fewer than 10 penalty yards, and scored a special team touchdown. No other team in NFL history has done all that in any game, regular season or playoffs. So, yes, I would definitely like to say I appreciate that. And I enjoyed that performance as well. Just a really good defense. It was a really game where I thought that it was going to be close, or Kyle Shanahan will definitely have a mastermind and do something that will help his team persevere. But they only had 2 field goals. And like I said, with that team being banged up and going through what they're going through, I couldn't even say anything, but I took my hat off to them, like I said, for advancing the way they did, because I definitely didn't pick them to beat the Philadelphia Eagles, but there's still problems on that end. And they're going to have to figure out some things this offseason. I want to move on now, and I want to talk about the Sunday game. This game was actually not that bad until it was. It was a very close contest, and even though it was bad on one end, they still had opportunity to win because that defense is so good. CJ Stroud had 212 yards for the Houston Texans, 20 of 47. He had a touchdown, but he also had four interceptions as well. And people were just taking him through the mud. You know, they dragged him through the mud. They took him to the woodshed or whatever you want to call it. They really criticized this man. He's only 3 years in, but at the same time, I think people kept their receipts because they said that people are so hard on Josh Allen when he comes up short. What about this kid, CJ Stroud? Yes, it's his third season, and I feel like he should do better, but at the same time, too, some of those interceptions was just really good fundamental tip drills. You've seen people keep their hands up tipping balls and another teammate come up with the picks. That's something that they teach with New England. That's just the fundamentals and how they play the game over in New England. So I had to give credit where credit is due just from the defense showing up again because everybody looked at it and was saying Drake May. But no, at this point, the defense stepped up when they played the Los Angeles Chargers and had that dominant performance. And they turned around and did the same thing against the number one defense. So is New England's defense really getting the credit it deserves? I seen a lot of the big names they signed. They had over $362 million that they, actually paid for and spent for some of those players in free agency, like Milton Williams and et cetera. I want to move on and I want to talk about some of the other players as well, because the surprising thing was I felt like Woody Marks would have been having a more of an impact in his game. He had 14 carries for 17 yards. And then, of course, they didn't have Nico Collins and they were missing a few wide receiver weapons. Jaden Higgins actually played okay. He had 6 receptions, 59 yards, but like I said, that defense was just stifling. I mean, Will Anderson had 3 sacks and he just couldn't be stopped. Him and Daniil Hunter are just juggernauts when it comes to defense. I believe once, CJ Stroud or whoever they have at the quarterback position, I still feel like it's CJ's job to lose. At some point in the game when I looked up, I said, man, with two interceptions, of course it went to four. He didn't really do bad and made any hiccups or a lot of mistakes in that second half. It was most of that stuff that happened in the first half. But still, I just feel like at some point I would have put in Davis Mills and seen what he had to offer because it wouldn't have hurt them. Because at this point, I thought the game was over. But the crazy thing, like I said, they still had opportunities, and it was still to the point where it was too close for comfort until it wasn't. Drake May had 179 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, and he had a pick on the day. And he had a few fumbles as well because Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter and that defense as a whole was coming after him. So I knew that was going to be something to watch out for. Ramondre Stevenson had 16 carries for 70 yards. And Kayshawn Booty had 75 yards on 3 receptions and a touchdown. He played pretty well. But one of the best things I seen on the highlights in that game was the Stephon Diggs catch because he caught it with his hands and the guy tried to strip it and he tucked it in and spent around and made sure that he completed that catch. I just thought that was very skillful and I was impressed. But it was unfortunate because the Houston Texans do have the best defense that I've ever seen in a long time. They just came up a little bit short. And I believe a lot of it, unfortunately, have to do with CJ Stroud. I can't, defend him here because I'm a person who's neutral in this situation. And I understand the criticism that people were giving him. Yes, to have 4 interceptions and to play like that when they needed him the most. If he could just, gave the ball to Woody Marks and just turned around and handed off the ball, it would have been safer than the performance that he gave. That final score was 28-16, and the Patriots are moving on to the second round or to the conference championship. So these are the final four teams before the Super Bowl. And I want to go on and I want to talk about the last game. That was very excited. I didn't think it was going to be this good, but it was actually very entertaining. And that's Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams versus the Chicago Bears and Ben Johnson, who we know pretty well. Funny thing is, Stafford played okay, but it was just at the same time, too, Caleb Williams played and he didn't play as well as he could. And some of those picks were costly as well. Stafford had 258 yards, 20 of 42. Yes, I have some stats and I will talk about that as well. Kyron Williams had 87 yards, 21 carries, and he had 2 touchdowns. And they got over in the red zone, and they was close on like first and goal or goal to go. He punched them in. Caleb Williams had kind of a pedestrian performance at some point, but then, the play that he did to tie the game was very impressive. So I like to give him credit on that. He had 257 yards, 23 of 42, 2 touchdowns, but 3 costly picks. DeAndre Swift actually didn't play bad as well. He just didn't get in the end zone. 19 carries, 76 yards. That final score was 20-17. I felt like Chicago had every chance to pull this game off. At one point, I looked and I said, this might be over, but a heroic act of Caleb Williams. I feel like that pass he made, only other one person I feel like could have made that magical pass, and that would have been Mr. Patrick Mahomes himself. When he gave that pass to Cole Komet and he caught it, I was definitely impressed. And I said, man, we have us a ball game. People start getting nervous because they definitely thought, the Ben Johnson had him an opportunity, and he still did. That's a talented team. They're very young. They believe in him as a coach, and I think they'll be back. But Caleb Williams, this is his second year. He have a few things that he'll have to clean up. I feel like sky's the limit for those guys. When it was all said and done, it was 2017 in overtime. Stafford will be moving on, and he will be playing in the conference championship. And yes, it's a lot of good games going on. We're down, like I said, we're down to the final 4 teams, and I want to discuss that. But before I do, in NFL playoff history, 4 teams had a game-tying touchdown, including extra point, in the last 30 seconds in the fourth quarter. But the bad part is, of course, it's always that but when you put that in there or you talk those statistics. All 4 teams lost in overtime. And I'm about to give you a flashback. 1987 Seahawks, Western Conference. Craig Talargent, 26 seconds. They scored, lost in overtime. 2004 San Diego Chargers. Yes, not the Los Angeles. At that time, they were the San Diego Chargers. In the Western Conference, Breeze to Antonio Gates. That was 11 seconds left on the clock, and it went to overtime, and they ended up falling short. 2015, Green Bay in the divisional round. Roger to Janis with 0 seconds left on the clock. They turned around and lost that one in overtime. And just recently in 2025, Chicago divisional round, Williams to Cole Komet. It was 18 seconds left. And of course, the field goal ended that game. Like I said, they had plenty of opportunities, just came up a little short. And now I want to talk about, of course, the NFL and the divisional round. Now we're going to talk about that. I feel like with this with the conference championship, you have the NFL and the conference championship now, and we're down to our final 4 teams. Correction. Okay. The first game is the New England Patriots going to Mile High Stadium, and they will be playing the Denver Broncos. The difference is, like I said, when you have a situation where you have your quarterback who led you guys to that heroic win and you had that good victory, you are feeling good and you're on cloud 9, and you find out he break his ankle, and now Jared Stidham is the quarterback. Got to put that news out there as well. Jared Stidham, this is going to be funny because now he faces his former team. Yes, Jared Stidham was drafted by the New England Patriots, and now he will be facing them. Stidham was drafted by New England Patriots in 2019 NFL Draft. The Patriots elected him in the fourth round with the 133rd pick overall out of Auburn. He didn't do that bad when he was with New England. Won a few games as a backup. He didn't really do bad when he was over there with the Las Vegas Raiders as well. And now he get his chance to make history and put his stamp on history. I never count a team out and you play to win a game. I was humbled several times before. I'm a huge New England Patriots fan, a huge Tom Brady fan. Let's get that straight. And to see what happened with Nick Foles in that Super Bowl, that definitely crushed me and crushed my spirit at one point. The good thing was after that loss, they picked themselves up. They went all the way back to the Super Bowl and they won that next season, you know. But at the same time, it was just something to make you say you got to be humble and just think that the fact that since Jared Stidham is the quarterback, it doesn't mean anything because you still got to play and you got to get that victory. You still got that stifling defense and you're going to be at Mile High Stadium. Not only that, you have a really good defense on hand. So I definitely want to see how that's going to play out. I still feel like the Patriots will be the favorite, and I'm just being honest with you. I have the Patriots by 5.5 points. And then you have the Los Angeles Rams and you have the Seattle Seahawks. Me, in my opinion, I feel like this is going to be a really good game. They play each other 3 times, kind of figured this was the way it was going to transpire to where they both play again. The Rams are playing good football right now, but I don't know. It's going to be hard to beat them in Seattle, especially the way that defense playing, and especially if Sam Darnold's on this game. I feel like I will pick the Seattle Seahawks only if Sam Darnold plays his game. If Sam Darnold plays and he play at a high level like he did last time, I believe that they can go ahead and go to the Super Bowl. If he don't play up to those expectations, they can easily go home as well. So when it's all said and done, I'm gonna still go with the Seattle Seahawks at home in that 12 man, and they have them by 2.5. I'm gonna go 3.5. So I'm gonna give them an extra point and a half, and that's what I'm gonna go with. The Seattle Seahawks. Like I said, I love Matthew Stafford. If he make the Super Bowl again, I won't lose any sleep. But at the same time, it's like you still got to play Seattle, man. And hey, I know it's going to be a slugfest. Whoever comes out of that might be a little damaged when it comes to the Super Bowl. But I still feel like it's going to be a heck of a game. And I feel like at this point, Sam Darnold will prove all the critics wrong and he will advance to the Super Bowl. That being said, now I want to talk about some of the things, if you guys didn't know right now, that happened just recently. We still have some coaching jobs that need to be filled, but some of them are already filled. Just to give you a heads up, we have 4 NFL coaching vacancies that was filled. Of course, you know the New York Giants guy, John Harbaugh, who was previously with the Baltimore Ravens. The Falcons hired Kevin Stefanski, just in case you guys didn't know, and he was previously with the Cleveland Browns. The Dolphins hired Jeff Hafley, Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator, and the Titans hired Robert Salah, San Diego 49ers defensive coordinator, former New York Jets coach. Teams that still have vacancies to be filled that I will be keeping an eye on, and I'll let you know as soon as it comes available. The Baltimore Ravens. Unfortunately, Sean McDermott's position with the Buffalo Bills after coming up short in 9 seasons. You have the Las Vegas Raiders, Pittsburgh Steelers, which is a still intriguing position to fulfill, and the Arizona Cardinals. And here is a list of the coaches to win Super Bowls with a team. And then he later went on to coach their team as well. Mike Vrabel with the New England Patriots, Jeff Saturday with the Colts, Art Shell with the Raiders, Bart Starr with the Packers, and Forrest Gregg as well with the Packers. I would like to say thank you all for chiming in and always showing love and support to the show. I'm very overwhelmed with all the love that I've been getting as well on social media. And this is the way you guys can find me if you ever want to get me and you want to give me any questions or hit up my comments and ask me anything on whatever you need. I'm definitely a person who I could take any criticism or whatever. But at the same time, if you just have any questions or want me to talk about something more, but you will actually have to have the platform for me to talk about it. I have to be available because some people say things or they'll be like, well, man, you're not talking about certain sports and it's not even available. When I ask the question of, hey, is it available for me that I can see it? Or is it any way that I can actually watch, like I have the streams to watch everything else, like I talk about the NFL, NBA, and things, etc., that's on TV that's right in front of me to where I can get to it, or either have a website that I can go to and check it out. They don't have it. That information is not available. So that being said, these are my social media networks where you can find me. And thank you all for showing so much love on my social media networks. Hoovy at Instagram, WHOOVI. I'm Sports Guru to You at Facebook, where I put up breaking news and I put up live news and give you reports. And of course, I put up scores and different highlights as well from around the league. And on TikTok, I'm Hugh.Lee6. Thank you all for definitely appreciating showing love to my brand and our promos from the Nighthawk Network and always chiming in and making me feel welcome to TikTok, man. You guys have been awesome, but all of my networks has really stepped up and I appreciate you, man. It makes everything I do feel like it's worth it and I will definitely continue for that. And at the same time, too, I have another show that I have, is the Guru Sports Session that comes on Wednesday where I talk all sports, not just football. And then, we have on Thursdays now, two unks talking TV. We appreciate all the love and the feedback we got with the Family Matters episode. And we will continue that this week. Thursday, we will be talking about That 70s Show, one of my favorites. And yes, I would like to give a shout out to everybody on the Nighthawk Network. You know who you are. My sister Harriet and Veronica and my brother Kevin and everybody who support my, pages and always showing love and giving me their support is highly appreciated. All my family and friends, Dale Davis, Ruth Thomas, Eric Merriweather, man, there's so many of you guys out there. Amanda, Hampton Lee, I love you all because I appreciate what you do. You make me definitely do what I do out here in my brand. Definitely love Steve McGuire because he made this a dream that became a reality in front of you guys. And if it wasn't for you guys and giving me your support, I don't think I'd be here right now. But through all the good and the bad, I like to say thank you all and have a blessed day. Until then, I will see you next Tuesday.